everyone, it's me, Mrs. Groner, and I'm here to tell you the story of Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, there were two children named Hansel and Gretel who lived in a very small house with their father, who was a woodcutter, at the edge of a deep and dark forest. Many years before, the children's mother had died, and the stepfather remarried. The woman he married was cruel and unkind and always treated the poor children badly. Well, a terrible thing happened. A famine came upon the land. A famine is when you can't grow food, you can't buy food, there's nothing to eat anywhere. And there was a terrible famine upon the land, and so there was almost nothing for the family to eat. Now the cruel stepmother thought of a plan. One night when Hansel and Gretel were laying down in their beds, Hansel could not even sleep because of the horrible pain in his stomach from being so hungry, and he was listening. As he listened, he heard his cruel stepmother say the most horrible things. "Husband, we must take these children out into the woods and leave them tomorrow, for we have nothing at all to eat. And if we don't leave them in the woods, we will not have enough food to last the winter, and we will all die." Now the father didn't want to take the children out to the woods and leave them, but he had to do what the woman said because she was so unkind and treated them all badly. But Hansel was smart. He listened and he heard what the stepmother said. So after she had fallen asleep, he went outside. And when he walked outside in the moonlight, he could see small white pebbles shining on the ground. That smart boy got down and picked up as many pebbles as he could fit in his pockets. He put them in his pockets and then he went back to bed. In the morning, the stepmother came in. "Wake up, you lazy bones! Get up out of bed right now! Hansel and Gretel, now come along! We have work to do. We have to go to the forest today to chop wood, and we have to do a lot of work. So here, I will give you one piece of bread to save. Don't eat it now. That's all the food we have, and we're going to go. Come along." Well, the children followed the stepmother and the father into the woods. Now that smart Hansel, every few feet he would drop a small pebble on the ground. So he'd walk a little ways and drop a pebble, walk a little ways and drop a pebble, because he knew what was going to happen. When the two children were deep in the woods, the stepmother said to him, "All right, you stay right here by this tall tree. Your father and I are going to go chop woods in the forest, and we'll be back for you later, children." Well, Hansel knew what was going to happen. So he and Gretel sat down by the tree. They had a small snack of the one piece of bread that they brought with them. And it started getting dark. As it started getting dark, poor Gretel became scared. "Oh, Hansel, I'm so frightened. Father hasn't come back for us, and we're lost in the woods. I don't know where to go or how to get home." Well, Hansel told Gretel, "Don't worry, dear sister. I know how we'll get home. Just wait till the moon is high in the sky." And fairly soon the moon got high in the sky, and all of a sudden, the little white pebbles that Hansel had left made a trail that Hansel and Gretel quickly followed back home. When they got home, their stepmother was angry, and she lied to the children. "You children, you stayed in the woods and didn't stay by that tree. We couldn't find you, so we had to come back home without you. You go to bed right now without any supper, because we have nothing nothing to eat. So the poor children went to bed that night. Hansel tried to get up in the night to collect more rocks, but the evil stepmother had locked them in the room. So Hansel and Gretel were there in the night. And the next morning the stepmother came, unlocked the door and said, "Get up right now, you lazy bones. We have to go to the forest to chop more wood." And so the two children got up. She gave them the one piece of bread that they had. And Hansel said, "Sister, I'll take the bread." So Hansel took the bread and held it this time. Now this time, as they walked through the woods to the middle of the deep dark woods, Hansel dropped small breadcrumbs every few feet so that Gretel and he could follow them. And when they got by the tree in the deep dark forest, the stepmother said again, "You two stay there. We're going to go chop wood." And the father and stepmother went out to chop wood. Hansel and Gretel stayed by the tree until the night. "Oh, Hansel, I'm so frightened." "Don't worry, sister. I have a plan. Wait till the moon comes up." This time, the moon came up in the sky and Hansel looked, but the breadcrumbs were nowhere to be found. But he told his sister, "Don't worry, Gretel. I'll find a way to get us home. Let's go." So he and Gretel walked arm in arm through the forest. But instead of going home, they walked deeper and deeper and deeper into the darkest part of the forest. Hansel and Gretel were very frightened and very hungry, for they had had nothing to eat for more than a day. Gretel began to cry, "Oh, brother, I don't know what we're going to do." When all of a sudden, in the middle of the darkest part of the forest, there was a light. It was a bright light, and Hansel said, "Look, sister, there's a light. Let's go." The two children ran to the light, and oh my goodness, they could not believe their eyes. Right in front of their faces was the most beautiful sight. It was a house decorated with candies, frosting, marshmallows, candy canes, and the walls were made of gingerbread. Gretel said, "Oh, Hansel, let's go eat." They went to the house and they began to eat. Hansel took small pieces of cookie from the roof and was eating them. "Oh, Gretel, these are so delicious." Gretel was taking pieces of candy from the windows and eating them. "Oh, Hansel, this is the most delicious thing I've ever eaten in my life." When all of a sudden, they heard someone come out. "Who is that nibbling at my house?" the voice said. "It's not anyone, it's just a mouse," said the children as they kept filling their faces with the delicious gingerbread and candy. Now, the reason why the person who was at the door couldn't see Hansel and Gretel is because she was a witch and she was blind. So she had a very good sense of smell, and she could smell it was two children. So she went over to the children and she said, "Oh, you poor dears, why you must be starving. Come inside. I will take care of you. I'll give you a great meal. Come inside." The witch brought the two children into the house. She gave them the most wonderful meal they'd ever had. They got to eat all until their stomachs were full. And then the witch put them into bed, tucked them under the covers, and the children went to sleep. But The sad thing was, it was an evil, terrible trick. The witch really wasn't kind. She was very evil and liked to eat children. So the next morning, when the children woke up, Gretel woke up and found her brother Hansel locked in a cage. And the witch said to Gretel, "All right, you will work for me. And we are going to feed your brother and make him nice and fat and juicy so that I can cook him and eat him." Poor Gretel had to work and work all day, and Hansel just sat in the cage. Now, the witch, remember, was blind. She couldn't see, but she could smell. So every day she would go over to the cage where Hansel was and say, "Boy, stick out your finger so I can see if you're getting fat." Well, Hansel would stick his finger out of the cage. But really, Gretel was smart. She gave Hansel a chicken bone that he would stick out of the cage and the witch would feel. Well, of course, the chicken bone didn't have any fat on it at all. So he would stick the chicken bone out the window. "Oh, you're not fat enough. Keep feeding him. Give him more food, you lazy girl," she'd say. Now, after a month, the witch got tired and decided she was too hungry for a child. She would eat Hansel whether or not he was fat. So she said to Gretel, "Gretel, dear, turn on the oven." Well, Gretel turned on the oven and cried because she knew what was going to happen. Later, the witch said to Gretel, "Gretel, see if the oven is hot enough to cook your brother." Well, Gretel was so smart. She looked at that witch and she said, I don't know how to tell if the oven's hot enough." "You just check. Open up the door and check and see if it's hot enough to cook your brother." "But I really don't know. I don't know how to do that," said Gretel. "Oh, all right, you lazy girl. I'll do it myself." Well, the witch opened up the oven and started to put her head in to see if the oven was hot enough, and that smart Gretel, she shoved the witch from the back and shut the oven door as fast as she could. The witch burned to ashes inside the oven. Gretel was free. She went over and unlocked the cage and let her brother Hansel out. Oh, the joy they felt. Now, the children knew they needed to get away from the evil witch's house in this terrible part of the forest. So they decided that they needed to gather up some food. They went through the witch's things and gathered as much food as they could and made little bags out of pillowcases. They put the food in the pillowcases. As they were searching, they found the most beautiful chocolate egg. And they couldn't resist it. It was so beautiful that they decided to taste it. So the children took pieces off the chocolate egg. "Oh, this is so good, Hansel." "Yes, it is, Gretel." But an amazing thing happened. When they ate away pieces of the chocolate egg, inside they found gold and jewels, silver and pearls, and they decided to take that with them as well. So they gathered up all that they could in their pillowcases, put them behind their shoulders, and went out in search of freedom. Hansel and Gretel walked all through the forest until they came to a huge lake in the forest. Hansel and Gretel said, "I don't know how we'll get past this," Hansel said to Gretel. But Gretel said, "Oh, brother, look, there's a white duck on the lake. Let's ask him." little duck, please give us some luck. Help us cross to the other side, this giant lake, deep and wide." Well, the duck heard the sweet sound of Gretel's voice and came over. He took the children across the lake to the other side, and they both went over on the sweet little duck. When they got to the other side, the forest started to look a bit familiar. "Hansel, I think I know this." "Me too, Gretel." The children kept walking and walking and walking, and as they walked, the forest became more and more familiar until finally they got to a very small cottage at the edge of the forest. It was the cottage of their father. They ran to their father. "Father, Father, Father, we're home, it's us, it's Hansel and Gretel." Their father came running out. Now their father knew he had made a terrible mistake by leaving the children in the woods, and he had not lived one happy day since the children were gone. He was so thrilled to see the children. Oh, the hugs and the kisses and the love that happened that day. "Oh, children, I'm so happy to see you. We're so happy to be home, Father," the children said. "Children, your evil stepmother died of hunger. And now it's just me, and I'm so sorry for leaving you. I can't believe I have not lived a happy day since you were gone." "Oh, Father, but our days will be even happier because look." And the children let out the pillowcases, and the father saw the gold and jewels, silver and pearls that were on the ground. They were so happy because they had enough money to never be hungry again, and the children and their father lived happily ever after. The end.